Great. So I will pass it over to Teresa. Go. Perfect.
Thanks, Jonathan. So I'm going to talk to you today about KidsHelpPhone, specifically the texting line that just surpassed its first year anniversary of being national. So as you can see here, if anyone would like to contact me, you can use my Forces email. And we'll just move on here. Do you need to accept something?
Have a look. No, we should be okay.
Okay. There we go. All right. So the texting service is an alternative to calling into the KidsHelpPhone or using the live chat on the KidsHelpPhone website. The main difference is that when somebody texts 686868, they are texting with a trained crisis responder, which is a volunteer such as myself. When somebody calls KidsHelpPhone or uses the online chat on the KidsHelpPhone website, they are actually speaking with a certified counselor. So that is the main difference. Crisis responders do go through intensive 6 weeks of training online with a coach, and you don't get through it without passing. So I think I did the final test 3 times before it was good enough to be able to move on to actually start helping youth online. So when somebody texts into 686868, they can text help or home or any keyword to get started. They'll get an automatic greeting letting them know that a crisis responder will be with them shortly. They can then start texting maybe what they do want to talk about. And on the other side, volunteers are working in a quiet space in their home on a secure platform. We do not use our phones, so we get a pop-up box on a secure platform that starts out the conversation. And it's 24/7, and it's bilingual. I've just put on this slide, there is the same crisis text line in the UK and in the US, so I put those up there for your knowledge to have those numbers since we are worldwide here. The main issues that do come up on the text line are stress, kids that are trying to be perfect for everyone, so with their grades, being perfect at home, being perfect for boyfriends or girlfriends or friends, trouble keeping up with their grades. We find a lot of kids lose friends, so whether it's, my friends suddenly stop talking to me and I don't know why. Isolation and loneliness, relationship issues, whether it's with friends, family, and bullying, online, in person, sometimes in the home as well. A big question that we get, I get it from colleagues, I get it from people I talk to, we get it from just about anybody who wants to know a little bit more about this, is what to tell a parent who's worried about their kids texting into KidsHelpPhone. So, I'm afraid that my kid is texting a stranger with a big problem. The first thing I would tell you is test it out yourself. We get numerous parent counselors, school teachers, texting in to say, what is this all about? What kinds of things might you tell the youth that is speaking to you? Ask questions. It's not all heavy topics. Any crisis to that person in their time of crisis is a crisis. So it's often a dry run. So it's sometimes it's a practice chat. Might be the first time they're telling somebody of this problem, and it just makes it easier than to tell someone in person. So it's a safe place to tell someone something that doesn't have a bias, that can just listen and get them from a hot, angry place to a cool moment so that they can then cope and deal with what is going on with them at that moment. So resources that we refer, the first thing to know is that we only offer resources if they choose to accept them. So we ask before we send a resource. We don't just send it out. And these are short links within a text that the youth will get. So again, we ask first, and then we will send them links to calming exercises, apps. There's a great app called Calm Harm. So it's an app that helps to stop self-harm. We refer them back to their parents or to school counselors or peer counselors. And there's also a great app on the KidsHelpPhone website called Resources Around Me, or RAM. And that can be used by anybody. And there's also a little chart there that, yes, Jonathan will definitely send this out. I see you've answered that. That gives you the different types of service that are on KidsHelpPhone so that you can see different ways and who's actually giving the support and how youth or even, young adults or even adults can access the different services that you can get through KidsHelpPhone. If my kids are talking to you, how will I know if they're struggling? Again, the text line doesn't replace any relationships with parents or trusted adults. It's a resource that's there when they may need it. So if they're in the middle of a really rough school day and they can't call mom or dad or talk to their best friend that they're used to talking to, it's a quick text away. We do always suggest they speak to a parent or a trusted teacher or an adult as soon as possible. And it's often part of the wrap-up of the conversation that they have a plan to speak to somebody, and that if they can't, that they actually text back in for more support. The more they learn to open up, the easier it gets. Another really important thing to know is in that trust cycle, if somebody is texting and they text the word stop, we cannot text them back. So we have our limits on, they set the limit on where their help starts and ends. So as soon as they text stop, the conversation is over. It's often hard to accept that the help is over, but that's their prerogative to choose that, they might have gotten what they needed, or maybe they've been interrupted, and they don't want someone to know they're texting, so it ends at that point. Everything is led by the person that texts in, so we don't have any boundaries in that way. Yeah, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I also just want to give you a little tidbit of information. It's not out yet, and I don't think it will be out until maybe February, March, but Military Family Services Community Outreach Team, along with True Patriot Love, have signed an agreement with KidsHelpPhone that there's going to be a CAF Kids specific text line, so that when a military child does text in, they'll still text into the same number, but they'll have a specific code as their initial texting line, and they will get specific resources dealing with military life. So the texter, crisis responder on the other end will have specific training on the life of a military child, so they'll get more specific resources around military life. And any questions? I've been doing this for a year and a half now. I've taken over 300 unique texting conversations at around 250 hours of volunteer time.
Cool, excellent. Well, I have a few questions. If there aren't any, feel free to write your questions in the chat as well if you've got lots of background noise where you are. So Teresa, how would you say what's the linkage with the military family community? How would you see this being used by kids in military families?
I think because of a lot of, the amount of moves, the isolation maybe, especially kids moving, say, out can, or coming back from OutCan and finding, you know, that their group of friends has changed, or you might have, you know, in different areas. I mean, all kids kind of have the same issues, but military lifestyle just has that extra added issue of, you know, yes, I move a lot, or you may move a lot, or we've lost friends, but my mom or dad also might be killed tomorrow. So there's that extra stress. There's a lot more kids that are dealing with secondary PTSD, and not all counselors or people that deal with youth have experience in that. Especially just, you know, as a volunteer crisis responder, it's, you know, working for MFS, I have experience with that, but not most volunteer crisis responders don't. So they're going to be trained in that as well. So I think that's going to be a really useful piece of information. Plus, it gives another access point to people that don't know about KidsHelpPhone. It, you know, having this now pushes it out through all the MFRCs to all the military families. So, and I think it's a much needed resource.
Cool. Excellent. Okay, so we've got a comment here. As a therapist supporting children and youth in the military, can I have them do a trial run in session with me to have them text with the KidsHelpPhone so that they know how to do it later if they're having a tough time and can't reach me?
Definitely. So what you could do is, so if I'm understanding your question correctly, could you scroll up a bit so I can read it all? So you would want them with you, maybe in the room, and text KidsHelpPhone at the time so that they know how to use it. Is that what you're asking?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've had people do that where they sit with their child and they start the conversation and say, okay, I'm going to hand the phone to my youth now who's just going to see how this works, and I'm sitting there with them so they know how to use it. It's definitely, please do. It's great to do that. I've had parents that say, you know, I'm testing this out before I pass it on because I want to make sure it's legit. And like I said, yeah, have them sit there, text, so they know how to use it, they're comfortable with it. I think that's the best idea ever. It's great.
And then second...
typical age?
Yeah.
I've had, you know, we don't always ask their age. And another thing is we don't always ask their name. It's a comfort level, and if it is, it's first name only. But I would say age range would probably be from 12, and I've had text from adults. So, but a lot of it, I would say, is within the teenage to 24, seems to be a big area.
Yeah, and that's a really good question because it was always my impression with KidsHelpPhone that it was more about children. And that's why this is advertised as crisis text line powered by KidsHelpPhone. Right. So that people, because we don't stop anyone. We have some texters that say, oh, I think I'm too old for this. It's like, no, you're not. You're in crisis. We're here to help. Excellent. Because there's a lot of crisis lines out there, or suicide lines, that actually are only open overnight. We're 24/7. Excellent.
Yeah.
Now I know there's some stats on how many. It's been pretty huge in terms of the number of texts received.
Yeah, I can. I get stats every month.
Yeah.
And I can get that for you.
Yeah.
The past few months.
I know it's been many tens of thousands.
Yes.
Yeah. In the past year.
Yeah.
Of texts responded to. So
yeah,
it's clearly
and on average, the shifts are 4 hours long, and on an average evening shift, say from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., there's 14 crisis responders on, as well as 2 supervisors, and at any one time, each person could be doing 3 to 4 conversations apiece, and it's consistent. There's often a lot of call-outs, so you can put yourself on backup lists, and you'll get an email, say at 2 in the morning, saying, we're short right now, so it's busy all the time. Yeah. Especially around holidays. September is really busy when it's back to school time, exam time. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions from folks on the line? Now, just so that you know, Teresa has been kind enough to also engage in a little mini podcast kind of thing. It's basically just a audio interview with her about these kinds of things. So I'll be posting that once we get the French language version in after translation, and so that you can have a look at that and feel free to pass it along to parents who you think might find it useful. So if there are no other questions, I'll just make sure in the chat we're good. All right, great. Well, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today and thank Teresa for this great info. We'll make sure we share the slides with all of you, and have a great rest of the day. Just wondering how to become a volunteer. Kelly, are you still on there? Looks like you're still signed in. Just had a last question here, and by the way, don't let this be, if you come up with questions after the fact, then feel free to email Teresa at her Forces email. So wondering how you can become a volunteer.
So if you go to KidsHelpPhone website, there is a place, I think it's how to help or get involved. They are always looking for bilingual crisis responders to train. So I think right now, I think there's over 1,300 trained crisis volunteers. But as you know, in the world of volunteering, especially when this is a 24/7 operation, you sign up for shifts that you can end up making. Life happens. It is a stressful volunteer thing to do, so you might do it for 6 months, and then you might need a couple months to decompress. So I know that they're always looking, they're always running training modules. So yeah, check out the Get Involved on the KidsHelpPhone website and read about it there. It's actually, it really changed me. I've signed up to volunteer, I'm 47. I've signed up to volunteer for many things in my life, including things like Blues Fest, you know, other music things that I thought were cool, and I've never gone. I signed up for this, and I've never looked back. So it's the one thing that stuck. So yeah, check it out. It's great. I've met wonderful people from across Canada. When it isn't too busy, you chat with other crisis responders. I found someone that lived in my old neighborhood, you know, that lived 2 doors from me when we grew up, and it's wonderful. It's an amazing thing. Uplifting, even though you don't want people to text in because you don't want kids to have problems, but to know you help, it's great. So, yeah, do it.
Excellent.
If you can.
Great. Okay, thank you. We will check it out. Excellent. Okay, thanks for that last question. And we'll make sure that we upload this video as long as it works. WebEx has been behaving kind of erratically lately, but we'll upload the video along with the slides to the website in addition to sending out the slides. So have a great rest of the day.
Thanks.